Good morning. I'm Laura Strom, and I'm the secretary of RECAMFT. And thank you to everyone who came a little bit early. I don't know how many of you know that Bob Casanova is the outgoing president. He's the past president, and he finished his term of 6 years on the board on May 31st. Yeah, big deal. Yeah. So I thought I'd do a little presentation about how he became the president, which was, he called me on the phone way back in the CAMFT, before CAMFT became CAMFT, and offered to pass out flyers about the bylaws problems. And then I said, well, okay, I'll get you these flyers. And he said, I'll split the cost with you too, and sent me a check. And then he passed out a whole bunch of flyers at a big, huge CAMFT event and stirred a lot of trouble in the pot, you know. Let CAMFT know the pot was brewing. All right, then he completed his PsyD that year. And what school did you go to? California Pacific? What? California Coast University. And in March 2014, as many of you know, the CAMFT slate was elected in a landslide. Yeah. Woo! And this was our pictures, you know, for our campaign that year. There's Bob right in the middle of everything. I don't know if you remember that we did several e-blasts, and this one was really quite popular. Anybody remember the ship? Y'all remember the ship? Nobody remembers the ship. Anyway, yeah, this was one of our e-blasts that went out to the members. So Bob he had spent 7 years on the board of Social Advocates for Youth, and he had been the board president. And he won a national, in 2010, he won a national award in his field, and he does education consulting and does therapeutic and educational placements for kids all over the United States. It's called the Irvin W. Katz Award, and it says, for ongoing commitment to children and education. So we were very thrilled about that on his behalf, especially when we were trying to campaign to get us all of us elected. All right, so the second year, he ran as secretary for the board, and we called ourselves CAMFT United, because we were trying to bring CAMFT back together. So this was these were our photos for the campaign. And we came up with a pledge of what we were pledging to the members. And then he became the president-elect, or as I like to call him, the king of CAMFT. Every time I'd call him on the phone, I'd say, Your Majesty, what can I do for you today? So I just thought I'd look and see what his something that jumped out at me from his opening presidential statement, and it was this. It was the closing sentence. Please join me in stating with pride, I am a marriage and family therapist. And then I looked to see what jumped out at me in his closing presidential statement, and it was this. In a process which took over 6 months to complete, the board of directors unanimously voted to hire Nabil El-Garouri as CAMFT's 4th executive director in its 54-year history. And, you know, it was more than 6 months, because there was also Jill deciding to give notice. So there was that part, and there was having an interim director, and then it was getting down to hiring somebody new. So this was a really big deal and a huge piece of work on behalf of all of us. Bob introduced us to the CEO of Healthcare Foundation, Debbie Mason, and coordinated a meeting, helped coordinate a meeting with her in my office in December 2017. And, you know, that's since led to the Wildfire Mental Health Collaborative that's raised $1.3 million for mental health services for people affected by the fires in Sonoma County. That's a big number. Yeah. Don't you love my transitions? I really had fun with this. So the chapter decided that we really wanted to acknowledge him, and so we created this plaque, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, the Redwood Empire chapter of California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Robert Casanova, PsyD, LMFT, 2017-2018 CAMFT President. Dr. Casanova also served as Director-at-Large, Secretary, President-elect, and past President of the CAMFT Board of Directors from 2014 to 2019. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Warren Bennis. Bob, thank you for your vision, dedication, hard work, and tireless service. Gratefully presented on the 7th day of June, 2019. Doreen Van Leeuwen, President of RECAMFT, and myself, the 2015-16 President of CAMFT. Yes. What's that? Okay. This second plaque is the plaque from CAMFT itself to Bob. And I wrote some remarks I just wanted to say. That on a personal note, as many of you know, my president-elect year was very difficult. Bob Casanova was my mentor throughout the entire process, starting with Save CAMFT and continuing beyond. He has remained my loyal friend and colleague during my entire tenure on the CAMFT board and since leaving it. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for him if I could. Something he has too much integrity to abuse. He always says you sandwich criticism between 2 strokes and a kick, and then another stroke or 2. As a result, I'm always nervous when he calls me. But I pay attention to what he says, and I value his counsel. He taught me LMFT should always be paid for our work, so I'm very clear that I should pay others for consultation and be paid myself. And I think that Bob has been one of the greatest mentors of my lifetime. And I deeply respect anything he has to say. And so it is my great honor as the 2015-16 President of CAMFT to present to you, Dr. Casanova, this plaque from CAMFT, thanking you for your board service and honoring your service to the board, the members, and the staff of CAMFT as its 2017-2018 President, President-elect, past President, Secretary, and Director-at-Large. So please join me in a round of applause for Bob's service to all of us. On display for the meeting, or are you gonna...
Yeah, you can leave the whole thing. Thank you very much. It's a distinct honor to have served on the Board of Directors of CAMFT, and I really would encourage all of you to participate in the state level in either a committee or even running for the board. We have a fantastic chapter, and comparing it to others in our state, the activity, the camaraderie, the level of professionalism. It made sense back in the day when our organization was at the point of being taken over by a multi-license kind of continuum that they were trying to do at the state level, that we stepped in. And I have to really also acknowledge Laura Strom, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been doing any of this. I was in my office. I was quite happy to be there. And, she can be persuasive herself. And so as somebody said, oh, did she rope you in? I said, she certainly did. And she's been great. She's really a go-getter and one of the most fantastic people I've ever known to get information. If I want something, I call her. I don't call anybody. I don't Google. You're it. So she's really great. Let's give her applause too. Yes, sir. So some of the things that are different between the time that I started at the state level and now at CAMFT is there's a complete dedication to MFTs. It was predominantly lawyer centric, if you will. There were a lot of lawyers. There were no MFTs on staff. We now have an MFT, actually, who's a member of the staff, Director of Clinical Affairs, Holly Daniels, and then our Executive Director is also a clinician. So, we didn't have any social media for CAMFT. Now we do, promoting MFTs. We never had any kind of website similar to what Psychology Today does, and we have Counsel California, which promotes MFTs. So Facebook, MFTs, none of that was present then, now it is. So, but it all started with that Safe CAMFT movement, and I was glad to be a part of it, and I thank you, Laura, for your help too, and you're still helping. And thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to leave the plaques on display up here so you can take a look when you get a chance.